Hello, hello. I'm live. I hope everybody is doing well. I am waiting to see some people join. Don't see anybody just yet, but I can't wait to dig into the topic today. I'm going to be talking about life updates in France and summertime in France. So before I jump into all of that, if you are new to my channel, welcome. I am Patricia Brooks. I am a life coach, an author, and a workshop facilitator who helps people navigate the mindset of moving abroad so that they can finally live the kind of lives they want to in a foreign country. And that's exactly what I did 8.5 years ago when I quit my job and I moved to France. And it's been one of the best decisions of my life. And so I love to help people move through the doubts, the fears, the building of resilience so that they can really, really embrace living in a new country. And today I am going to talk about just what's been going on in my life. So is this going to be a kind of a casual conversation? If you are joining me live and you can hear me, can you type in the chat where you are joining from? All right. There's John Henderson. Hello. So you can hear, probably, I guess you can hear me. And where are you joining from, John? All right. I am really excited about today's conversation just because it's going to be a relaxed one. I have today I came from taking yet another exam for the French paperwork, and I'm going to dig into that a little bit later. But I wanted to start off by we've got Miss Nahulita from San Francisco Bay Area. Welcome. Good morning. And Igamiglo, greetings. Welcome. Good to see you. Good to see you today. I'm going to jump into the updates basically on what's going on this summer. As you probably have heard, or if you are in France, you probably are feeling the heat. It has been sweltering for going on almost a week, I guess. And there doesn't seem to be any relief in sight. I heard just today on the news that they're saying that we're going to have temperatures this high up until July 14th. So it's not very pleasant. So how am I handling it? Fortunately, I do have air conditioning in my living room. And so that has been a lifesaver, although it's really working hard. Where I am, in the south in Surrey, it's not quite as hot as it is in some other places. I have a member of my program who's living in Lyon, and she says it gets up to 40, or I don't know if she said 41 degrees Celsius, which is over 100 degrees, 102, something like that. So here it has been in the upper 90s. I think we reached 36 degrees here, 36 degrees Celsius. So around 95, 96. And it's intense. Last night I went out. In fact, I ran into somebody who I took the night train with 4 years ago from Perpignan to Paris. Now, the night train is where they have the sleeper cars. And so she was in one of the people in my car. And we haven't been in touch, but she decided to visit Surrey, and she hadn't told me, but we ran into each other on the street just yesterday or the day before yesterday. And so she invited me for drinks. And so I was out it wasn't late. It was around 7 p.m. and I went to mail a letter to a friend. And I'm telling you, it felt like in the sun at 7 p.m. here, it felt like it was high noon. It was, so yeah. So, it's not good. It's not good. All right. Got some more people joining. Okay, so John is from Argenton-sur-Creuse in France, originally from New Zealand. Oh, wow. All right. Embracing your pivot from the USA. That's a big place to be from. Angela Rochelle in Bonjour from Montpellier. Yes, Angela says she just came. Let's see if I can process. Angela just came from Paris and Lyon, and it's been hot, hot, hot. Yes. Oof, oof. All right. So that's one thing, right? Okay. So the temperature, but what else is going on? How am I feeling? What's my energy like in spite of the heat wave? On 2 days ago, on Tuesday, there was the Fête de Saint Jean, where they have the big bonfire. Happens every June 23rd here and in the neighboring villages, and they bring the bonfire started from a fire that is brought down from the peak of Mount Canigou, which is a mountain in the area, and I think the historical meaning of it has to do with Saint John the Baptist. I don't know all of it, but it's a time for the community to come together. They have a processional where they have lighted torches, and then they throw the torches into the bonfire. This year, I did not go to it because I was tired. Right, I was like, oh, it's still gonna be hot out, and then they're gonna light this hot fire. I think I went last year, and I was pretty close, and a lot of people were close around. And when that fire started to take off, people, everybody, it repelled everybody. So I'm like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to go. So I kind of miss that. It's one of the festivals here that I thoroughly enjoy because it's community. It's not a lot of people from outside because other neighboring villages actually have their own thing going on. The person I had drinks with last night wasn't able to find a place to stay in Saray, and so she stayed in a neighboring town called Amélie-les-Bains, and they had their bonfire there too. So, but I didn't make it this year. So, but I did do a video of that. So if you wanna see what that's all about, or maybe I've done a couple, you can check out my YouTube channel, some of the older videos for my coverage of that. All right. Let's see. Oh, hi, Dion. So glad you could join. All right. Hi, Teresa. So glad you dropped in. So glad you dropped in. Yeah, so my energy is, even with the air conditioning, it takes a toll. One of the things that I've started to become more French, is I have what they call a volet, which are the shutters that close. And I resisted closing them in the summertime, except when it was really, really hot. Now, if it's gonna be hot, I close the shutters and I'm in the dark. And I don't like being in the dark. It feels like I'm in a cave. And a couple of days ago, I was feeling a little bit stir crazy. And so I just go out a little bit, 10, 15 minutes, get some sun, and then come back in. So, and really, you can tell the difference when the shutters are closed. It is a drastic difference. I can prolong not putting on the air conditioning, a couple of hours based on just keeping the temperature lower and not having the sunlight in. So there's something to it. It's something that, like I said, I resisted, but it's what you need to do. What you need to do. So, what else do I have here for updates on summer updates? Let's see. Got my list here. Oh, what am I looking forward to? What am I looking forward to this summer? Well, next week I'm going to be going to Lyon with a friend to a wedding, a French wedding. I've never been to a French wedding, and this is my friend's wedding. So I don't know these people, but I'm sure it's going to be a good time. It's going to be during the day. They're going to go get married in the mayor's office, which is what you need to do to have your marriage be considered a real marriage. And then if you want to have a church ceremony afterwards, then you can do that. But they're just going to have the ceremony at the mayor's office. And then we're going to go to a restaurant. It's going to be a small fair. These people are a little older than me, in their 60s, so it's not going to be a big affair. But I'm really interested in seeing what that's like. Did a little shopping, got some new sandals and a new purse to go with my outfit. So that was fun too. So really looking forward to that. And I have a member of my program who lives there. She just recently moved there in May. And so I will get to meet her in person for the first time. So I'm looking forward to that as well. All right. So that's one thing that I'm looking forward to this summer. The second thing is that on August 12th, we are going to be having an eclipse, a solar eclipse. And Valencia, Spain is going to be in the path of totality. Now, I'm not gonna go to Valencia for that. It's about a 5-hour drive. I've been there. Where I am, the Perpignan area, it's going to be 98%. So it's almost a total eclipse where I am, and I've already got my solar eclipse glasses. I bought them months ago because I remember when I was working, there was an eclipse and all the solar eclipse glasses were sold out. And so I wound up trying to make, out of a shoebox, something I could look at it with. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that this time. I'm getting my sunglasses or my solar eclipse glasses early, and I'm going to be done with that. So I am prepared. I am so looking forward to that. And what that really reminds me of is, I don't know if any of you have seen the movie Dolores Claiborne. This is a Stephen King movie. I actually have that book, the French version, and I'm reading that now. But that is set in New England, and there is a total eclipse. And I'm really, enjoying reading the book and thinking about the eclipse that I will see in a month and a half. So that is something else I'm looking forward to. All right, let's see what else we got going on in the comments. Oh, Linda. Hi, Linda. So glad you could join. Ah, yes, that's something else I'm excited about. I'm doing, I have a series. I'm a regular on International Living magazine. So I do one video a month for them I think for the rest of the year. So that's exciting. And I did the video, I think, that dropped today. I filmed in Perpignan. So if you are interested in Perpignan, you want to see Perpignan, you can check that out. All right. All right, and we got Cindy from Cindy Cogdill 118 from New York City. Hello, hello. All right, so those are some of the things that I am looking forward to. What are you looking forward to this summer? Or is there anything that you're like, oh yeah, I can't wait for this, I'm going on vacation? Drop that in the comments. Oh, and the other thing that I'm not doing this year, every July here in Surrey, they have this big party. It's called Feria. And there's a bullfight component that's one part of it. And then there is just a music and drinking, lots of getting drunk. And usually I leave town because for me, it's not a pleasant sort of thing. I think last year I was dog sitting in a neighboring village and I avoided that. I think 2 years ago I headed for the hills, actually went to the mountains, and was trying to escape some of the heat. And it was pretty warm there too. Like the night in the evening, it really cooled off, but during the day, the temperatures were maybe a couple of degrees cooler than they were here. So, but this year I am going to hunker down. I'm going to go get some good stuff to eat, and I'm going to, hunker down like it's a snowstorm. I'm going to stay in. Maybe in the morning I'll go for a walk in the woods, not in town, because it's not pleasant. That's one thing that I don't appreciate about Surrey. All right, so Dion says maybe yes, Yes. I want to go see Obama's library too, right? I don't have any plans for coming back to the States anytime soon. I think it's been just about 4 years since I've been back. But I'm seeing the coverage of that. I want to go to go, and I can't wait and I can't wait to hear your thoughts of it because it looks amazing, absolutely amazing. That's something to look forward to. Absolutely. All right. So today, I did something that I did about a month ago, and that was I sat for the French civics exam. Now, January 1st, 2026, the French government said, okay, if you want a carte de séjour, multi-year carte de séjour, a resident card, or if you want to go for French nationality, okay, you're going to need to take a civics exam. And 40 questions. You've got 45 minutes, and you need to get 32 out of the 40 questions correct. So today I sat for a second time for the civics exam. And it's not because I failed the first one. The first one was for my 10-year resident card. So come September, my profession liberale visa or carte de séjour, which was good for 4 years. I got one that was lasted 4 years, is going to expire. And so I'm in the process of doing the paperwork. I've reached out to the prefecture in Perpignan to get an appointment so I can, drop off all my paperwork, have my appointment, and, hopefully they'll be able to process it quickly. I know there's been a backlog of for renewals in the system here in France, but maybe the prefecture of Perpignan will be quicker. I don't know. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. And so in May, when I took the civics exam, it was for the 10-year resident card. And so I had to take a second one that was specifically for French nationality. Okay. And so in May, when I took it, I passed it. I got 38 out of 40 questions correct. And it was, I went to the same center. So this time it was kind of like, oh yeah, I knew what to expect. And yet it was very different. Like the questions were very similar, but my experience about the whole testing center, finding it, all of that, the wait before going into the exam room, very different. In May, I hadn't done a dry run, so I hadn't gone to locate the place. And it was in a building with a lot of other businesses. And on the front of the building, there was not a sign for this school. And so I thought, oh, am I in the right place? And I had maybe 10 minutes to get, in there, right? And if it wasn't the right place, I would be screwed. But turns out it was all the way at the back of the building. The other thing was I couldn't figure out how to get into their parking lot. So I parked in an old Lidl parking lot. It was no longer a Lidl supermarket. It was just a vacated parking lot that had a lot of trash and debris. It looked really sketchy. And I was like, 45 minutes, I think maybe I'll be okay. And I parked there, and I was. But that didn't give me a good feeling. And then when I walked into the hallway, there were a lot of people just standing around. There was nobody greeting you. And it was like, oh, am I in the right place? So I just didn't have I felt a little bit anxious. I was anxious already because it was an exam, but then the setting was a little bit, off-putting. But I did okay, and that was fine. So I decided to come back to that same test center because, well, I knew where it was. And the proctor, he had a lot of personality, tried to put us all at ease. And so I was like, okay, I'll come back because I appreciated that. And so today was the second round, and very different because I knew where it was. I said, I think I know how to get into the parking lot. I think I need to go in through the McDonald's, which is right next door. And I found a spot, no problem. I'm sitting in the car eating a little bit before I go in. And I'm the last one to get into the building because the proctors already started taking people in. And the last time it was it was about 2 minutes before the hour. It was 3 o'clock that the exam was going to take place, and he just started, signing people in. So it wasn't that. This time we started before 3 o'clock, and it was, the questions were very similar. What I noticed was in the first go around, I didn't have any or many questions about the political process, or the political system. And I knew this time there would be more, just because for citizenship, I would have the right to vote. And so understanding that is kind of important. And so there were questions about that. There were some questions that I wasn't quite sure about. Um, and because I hadn't studied them, there were some questions I hadn't studied. I studied every day, used YouTube primarily. There are a lot of videos that have 40 question tests that you can go through, and so I did that. But there were some questions that just didn't get touched on, and so it was like, well, I think it's this. And so at the end of, it took me about 15 minutes to go through the whole exam and answer the questions. And then I went back to the beginning and I went through to double check. And I'm glad I did, because there was kind of a trick question. It talked about liberté, travail, and égalité as being the French motto. And I had clicked that because I just read it. I kind of didn't really read it. And I was like, oh no, it's not that. It's not that. And so I caught that one. But then when I went back, there were like 4 questions I wasn't sure of, but I could miss 8. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to click end here and I'm going to get my results. And so and this time around, I was like the 3rd person finished instead of the second to last person finished. So it was just a different feeling to it today, but I still was successful. I passed with the same score, 38 out of 40. So now I can check that off for one of the things that I will need for my paperwork for French nationality, which I won't be able to go for until I have the 10-year card in my hand, because they need a card that's valid. And so if my card expires because there's a backlog, then I will have to wait until I get the card. So, but it's a relief. It's a relief to kind of get that, get those 2 exams taken care of. And since I've been in France, it seems like I've taken more exams because I took a French class, so then I took the TCF exam to kind of see what my level was. Then when I got my profession libérale visa, in 2021, that allowed me to start my business here, I had to go to civics classes. So there were 4 days of civics classes that I had to go to in Perpignan. And then at the end, there was a test. It wasn't like the test that I sat for today, but still I had to take that test. And also I had to take another language exam to show that I had a certain level of French. So I got that one out of the way. And then last year I sat for the DELF exam for the B2 level, and I passed that. And then this year I've taken 2 tests. So it feels like, oh my gosh, I'm tired of taking tests. I think in the US, the last test that I took was way back in 2006, when I sat for the PMI Project Management Professional, the PMP certification. And that was a stressful exam. That was a really stressful exam. I didn't know how I did, but I did okay. All right. So that's the civics exam or exams. I am so glad that's behind me. And now I don't have to study for that anymore. Well, I think there will be an interview for citizenship, but that's a little ways off, where I might still need to answer some questions about civics, or French people, or something like that. But I'll cross that bridge a little bit later. All right, let's see what we got going in the chat. Yes. We're talking about the temperature again. I'm in Bergerac, France. I moved from Hawaii last July. Oh, okay. I know somebody else who's moving from Hawaii to France, but I think they're going to Nice. Air temp has been 107 during the day. Oh, that's oh, that's horrible. Absolutely horrible. Well done, Patricia. Great score. Sorry. Oh no reason to be sorry. I'm still live. Thank you, thank you. Yes, the citizenship test was in French, and so when I was studying for it, the YouTube channels have it all in French, and they were like, I learned a lot. Like there were some phrases or some terms that I didn't know. Like, I don't have a child or children in school. So there's certain things that I had to say, oh, what is this? What is term or some political terms that I wasn't clear on that when I was studying, I had to look up. But for the most part, the questions, like I'm at a level there where that wasn't the hurdle. There was somebody who was kind of reading a little bit out loud, the whispering, and I think it was because like their language, they're trying to figure out, well, what is this actually trying to ask me? Um, for the most part, it was in French, but for the most part, I was good with the language. So thank you. Thank you, Sharon. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Somebody else is thinking about going to the Obama Library too. Well, maybe we'll make a trip of it, um, Sharon. Tammy. Hi. So glad that you could join, Tammy. Thank you. Thank you. I'm Verna, my longtime friend Verna. Hello. So glad you could join. We'll talk soon. We'll talk soon. So that's the civics exam update. Feel free to ask me some questions because this is, not just me blabbering. Like, if you've got questions for me, ask them in the chat. Um, oh, this is a year of administrative stuff, right? So it's pulling together my documents for my 10-year card for citizenship. Um, but also, just finished with taxes the beginning of June, French taxes. And so I did a video about how, I'm still dealing with those taxes. Okay, so I've submitted them, but and I spoke to the person who's supposed to be a specialist in American taxes, because there's this treaty and that's supposed to give me a credit so that I don't owe here in France. Well, he wasn't able to figure out which box to check or which box to fill in, and so it's showing me that I owe 3,800 euros, which will be due in September. And so he's quite aware of the treaty, and he's like, "Oh no, I'll figure this out," And so I left. So about a week after that, maybe a week and a half after that, I said, I don't feel comfortable seeing that number there. I really want to make sure that he's figured this out. So I went, after, there were no long lines because it was after the deadline. And, I went, he called me into his office and he's like, Madame Brooks, rest assured, I've already, put something into to work on that so that you don't owe, right? But it still shows that I owe that. And so I think at the end of July, there is a time where you can, contest or something. So I'm going to have to do that. But long story short is to say that I'm still dealing with that because in September, because what happens is they have your bank account information. So if you owe taxes, right, they're going to take that out of your bank account and maybe they'll break it up into 4 smaller pieces, but like you go to your bank account and have nothing in it because, well, taxes came due. And so I really need to make sure I get that taken care of. You know, I I don't. On one hand, I have a little bit of confidence because I've spoken to him. This was the third time I spoke to him. I spoke to him last year, so he kind of knows me. But on the other hand, I'm thinking, well, he's a busy person. Like he's running that tax office, and everybody's, needing his help and all of that. So I'm like, well, will this really get done? So, but I'm gonna be the squeaky wheel. So so that gets taken care of. All right. What conversation are you missing, Jackson Wilson 4722? I just started talking about it. I don't know any. I can't. I am not an expert on taxes. I'm talking about my experience. So, but the first couple of years that I did taxes here, I hired somebody. And that was wonderful because I hired somebody, but it was costly. And, there was the fee and then there's the 20% value added tax on that. And it's like, I can't continue to, pay for that. I need to figure this out on my own. And so last year was the first year that I did it on my own. And it was corresponded with the fact that I owed. And I thought, oh, I must have made a mistake. And when I spoke to the tax guy that I have this relationship with now, he's like, oh, no, well, you see, you made this much more this year. So that's why you owe. And I'm like, well, that's not a whole lot. Like, I'm not, but he's like, yeah, but it's more. So I was like, okay, I'm happy that my business is doing okay so that I owe. Right. So, but this year is different. It was some income from the US and that needs to be treated differently. So, all right. Okay. France imports. When you had to go to your OFI appointment in Montpellier, did you need chest x-rays? What else? We finally got our appointment and it's on the 30th. So we're flying all in from San Diego for a couple of days. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Oh, so yes. So this was a long time ago. All right. So um, I had to, I think the first part of it was I went into the OFI office. They had there, I think they tested I spoke with somebody at a counter and they kind of corresponded with me in French to kind of gauge what level of French, but this was years ago, right? 2019, 2020. And they kind of just gauged it that way. There was we were kind of like in a classroom setting. I don't know if that was a holding room or if there was something that they told us. I don't remember a whole lot about that. And then I had to go to get my chest X-ray, and I think I brought my vaccine, my vaccine record. I think they asked if you wanted to be tested for AIDS. And I had a conversation with the doctor, and I don't really remember that much about that conversation. But all in all, it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too stressful. But yes, there was a chest X-ray, and so it's unfortunate that it fell when you weren't here. But I'm glad that you're coming back and you're going to take care of that. It's progress. All right. Yeah, Jackson Wilson. Yeah. So one of the reasons I'm pretty sure that I don't know is because my financial advisor, he works with people who live overseas. He specializes in that, and so when we're moving some money, he said, "Oh yeah, we're going to take it from here. It's just American businesses, blah blah blah," and so then, but when I did my US taxes and I saw the amount, I thought, oh, this is going to trigger something in France. So I reached out to him. I said, do you have some documentation on this so that I can share this with the tax people because maybe they're not aware? And so he found the information. It was an article in French and in English. And so I had that. The first time I went to the tax office, and I was the first in line or second in line. And I showed that to the person behind the counter because he wasn't a specialist. But I think, talking to, a tax professional, your investment, financial advisor, and ensuring that they're well versed in, foreign matters will definitely help you. All right, so let's see. Linda's has something else. So Linda Houston says, I did not need a chest x-ray. Okay. My understanding is that with the American passport, you don't have to get the chest x-ray. Is checking for TB. Yeah, I had to do it. And I think I might have done it twice because I think when I changed my status from visitor visa to profession liberale, I think I had to do it a second time too. So that's interesting. So maybe, Kristen, maybe you won't need that. Interesting. Okay. All right. So so that's my tax situation update. I don't see a whole lot of questions. This might be a quick live stream. Yeah, I've already spoken about that I'm excited about going to this wedding in Lyon. The only thing that I'm not excited about is doing it in the heat. And I think the Airbnb that we're going to be staying in is not air conditioned. So that'll be interesting. That'll be interesting. But and then the final thing I wanted to share was about, oh no, there's something else I want to say. So those of you know, I've been working on my memoir. It's called Leaving Home, Finding Home. And I can't remember the subtitle, but it has to do with the reckoning of race and revival in France or something like that. And so I finished this manuscript in the spring, right? I've been working on this for over 3 years. And so I was like, so I'm working to get my book traditionally published. And that means that I need to find a literary agent, which is a process. And so about a month ago, maybe 5 weeks ago, I submitted my first query letter to an agent. So now I've got maybe 10 in the pipeline. So that felt really good. The thing is, it seemed like at every turn, there was something else I needed to do. So I spent a long time getting the manuscript to a level that I think is solid. But then, I needed to work on the query letter so that it's tight, that it's like 300 words or fewer, that it's very focused, because agents don't have a whole lot of time to read long letters. I had to do a book proposal because memoir is nonfiction. And so they could ask me for, instead of the manuscript, if they're interested, they might say, oh, well, send me the book proposal. And book proposal is basically the business plan for the book. Who's the market? What is your promotional strategy? Some sample chapters and summaries of each chapter. Like it's like a 50-page document, right? So I had to do that, right? So I got that done. And then, then each agent wants something different. Some of them work with Query Tracker, which is an online platform that, you can track, which agents you've queried. And if they're on there, it'll automatically say they want to see more, they rejected you or whatever. And within that, there are different forms, different questions they can ask. So there's just so many give me your theme or your thesis in one sentence, like lots of things. So there's always more to write. A synopsis, right? That was something I was like, what even is the synopsis? I have the overview in the book proposal. is that the same thing? No, it's something different. So it's another document that I had to do. So I feel like now I've got all the pieces and parts. And so that as I continue to query agents, I think that it's not going to be as much of a heavy lift. But I'll tell you, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is hard. This is really hard. So the news is that this week I got my first and second rejection letters, which surprisingly, for the first one, surprisingly, it was, I wouldn't say it was a relief, but it was kind of like, okay, yeah, I'm doing this thing, right? I'm doing this thing. I knew I was going to get rejected. Um, and I'm going to continue, moving forward. The first one was very quick. It was within 3 days. The second one was through Query Tracker. And so I think it was like in 38 days it took. And a lot of these agents say, okay, I'm accepting submissions, but if you don't hear from me in 6 weeks to 8 weeks, then it's a no, it's a pass. But hopefully I will get responses. I think that's the other thing that felt humane, right? A lot of times I remember when I was looking for a job, you just send letters and you'd hear nothing from most of them. And it just didn't feel really good. So even though rejection was like, okay, at least he received it or they received it. And I need to continue. I need to, double and triple down and kind of get a sense. The process that I'm doing is I've kind of rated the agents that I want to work with as A agents, B agents, and C agents. This is something that I learned in a program that I took. C agents are agents that I would be happy to work with. B agents are agents that I would be even more happy to work with. And A agents are like, oh yes, top shelf, upper crust, whatever you want to call it. If I could work with them, oh my gosh. And so I've started out with C agents so that I can kind of test my query letter to see if, after a certain number that I send out that I'm getting nothing but rejections. That is a sign that, okay, my query letter isn't as tight as I thought it was. Or, maybe I'm getting requests for my proposal or a request for the first 10 pages of my manuscript, in either case, and then I get rejected. If that's the case, that I need to work on those parts, right? And then I can not burn through the agents that I would most like to work with. And so that's my process. But I feel really good about it. I feel really positive about it. I've done the work, and now it's just time to just put it out and see what happens. So yeah. All right. Hi, Scott. Glad you could join. Thank you. Good luck with the book. Thank you. All right. Tammy, the question of the day. Yes. I did not do a Women Rising Roundtable this month. The question is, Patricia, are you doing any new Women Rising Roundtables? A Women Rising Roundtable is a workshop of no more than 9 women. And it's all about, working on your mindset or personal development and growth. Some of the topics have been reinvention, right? So you want to do something different, but you're really not sure where to start, or maybe even what that is. We kind of dig into that. There are, we've talked about topics about, being more assertive and saying no and having boundaries. And the roundtable, the Women Rising Roundtable that is happening next month, I believe it's going to be July 25th. Yes, July 25th. That's a Saturday. The topic is, I want to get this straight. It's an interesting one because this is something that I haven't always been good at, and the fact that now I'm able to do this and to trust this part of me has really helped me to move through things a little bit more easily. So The title is, what is it? July 25th. Here we go. The Wisdom Within: How to Recognize, Trust, and Act on Your Intuition. It's really about, if you've ever had a situation where you thought, oh, I really should do this, or I really shouldn't do this, and you go against that, and then you say, oh, I knew it, I should have listened to that. Well, that's your intuition. And it is, a lot of times it's hard to discern or decipher from fear. Is it fear that's talking? And am I just kind of looking at what other people are doing and maybe that's influencing me? And so it's really hard to get a gauge on, well, is it really my intuition speaking, or is it something else? And so in this roundtable, we're going to delve into that. We're going to have activities that will help you to become more aware of your intuition. And in fact, the pre-work workbook, sometimes we have pre-work workbooks, that's going to help you to start to become more aware. So it's going to be a really good event. And one of the things that you'll walk away with is you'll come to the roundtable with something that you've been struggling with, a decision maybe that you've been struggling with, whether you should do something or not. And that at the end of that, you'll be able to walk away with a clearer sense of what is right for you. And being in tune with your intuition is so, I think it's really important. The fact that I am living here in France is because I listened to my intuition. It was not logical for me at 51 to quit my job that my mom said I should never do unless I had another one lined up, and moved to France where I knew no one and where my French skills weren't as good as I thought they were, right? And yet 8.5 years later, I'm the happiest I've ever been. And it took me all of this time for me to really to trust it, because I'll tell you, the first job offer I got out of college, I knew I didn't want to take that job. I knew it wasn't a job for me. And yet I couldn't say no because it wasn't logical, right? I couldn't explain why I shouldn't take it. And it was 9 months of hell. It was 9 months of hell. I woke up in hives for 8 of those months, covered in hives every day, because it was such a stressful, discriminatory environment. But I didn't learn from that. Like I knew, okay, yeah, that's proof that maybe I should have listened. But the last job I took, I knew that I didn't want to take it, and I took it anyway. So like over the course of 25 years, I wasn't still able to trust it, but I was able to trust it enough to say, yeah, I don't know what's waiting for me in France, but I need to be there. And I'm leaving this job to find out what's there. And so it's really powerful. So if you're interested in this Women Rising Roundtable, as I said, 9 spots are available currently. You can go to thecouragecatalyst.com/roundtable and learn more about it and sign up there. All right. So it's going to be a good one. So thank you so much, Tammy, for teeing up that for me. And I hope you'll be able to join. All right. So I don't see any other questions. Oh, okay. Here's a question. Are you having a meetup this fall? If so, where? I am not. Well, so I'm gonna caveat this. I am not having a public meetup. I have my Carefree Expat Incubator program, which is a program for single women who are ready to start their new lives abroad, but would like to have support in doing that. And so, if you're a year out or maybe 18 months out from your move to abroad, typically countries in Europe, then you can there's a process, there's an application process, but the program is about building the mindset of the kind of woman who moves abroad confidently and sustainably, despite whatever fears or doubts or apprehensions you might have. And also in creating the habits, right? And the thought patterns, as well as developing your why statement that is so very important to moving through the times when you're like, yeah, is this really worth it? And then there is a component in the program where you are, you're checking things off. You've got your list. These are the things I need to shut down in my old country. These are the things I need to stand up in my old country. This is kind of like the timeline. And there are group coaching calls that you have access to before your move, right? So you have support, and if you have questions about the online program, you can ask them there. And then just before you're getting on that plane, if you're having, second, having doubts or whatever, you can say, okay, talk me off this ledge, and on one of those calls. And then once you arrive, and things aren't quite as what you expected, then you have the support of the group and my coaching to move you through, so that you don't throw in the towel, and that you can kind of navigate and acclimate with some support. And so that program is we are meeting. We have a meetup, but that is for that program only. And they're coming to me. They're coming to Surrey. I don't have anything like I did last year in Nice, where I had a meetup for other people. But I think it's a good idea. And I know that I teed this up, I guess this was maybe 9 months ago, that Jeff the expat and I were going to plan to do a meetup in Perpignan, and that never happened. So I think that might. I need to have a conversation with him and see if he's still open to that while he's still in the Perpignan area, and then maybe we can do something in Perpignan. But I don't have anything planned right now. All right, long answer, but there's that. And if you are a single woman who is planning a move abroad and would like to apply for my program, you can go to thecouragecatalyst.com and check out the information there, and schedule a session with me so that we can see if that's the right program, if you're a right fit for the program, because it is by invitation only. All right. Let me see if there are any other questions that I might have missed. Let's see what else we got. Jackson Wilson, do you know me? Do you plan on going for the C1? C1 is a level. There are different levels of proficiency in French. A1, A2, B1, B2. B1, B2 is intermediate. B1 is intermediate, B2 is upper intermediate, and C1 is advanced. And in fact, last year or the year before, just before 2025, I was thinking about doing C1, and I started studying for that. And the problem was with the reading comprehension. Like, it's a long passage, kind of technical. And you have an hour to read that and then answer the questions. I couldn't get through reading the piece in an hour, let alone answer questions. And so that's when I said, okay, Patricia, you have such a heavy lift to get to C1 level. Do B2, and work on that, because I still had to study, because I could speak French fairly well. I thought that part would be okay. But even doing like the presentation, a 5 to 7 minute presentation where I'm arguing a point, that was not in my skill set. So I had to really work on that to get to the B2 level. And so I said, I'm not taking that this year. I've got so much going on. I'm not taking the C1 this year because I've got so much going on. But I like a challenge. And I really enjoy being able to communicate at the level that I can now. And as I think about, my future here in France, and once my book is published, it'll be published in English first. There'll be a foreign rights deal. I'm putting this out into the universe, right? And so it's going to be published in French too. And so I envision myself going on French radio and promoting the book, right? And so the higher my level, the easier it will be for me to be able to communicate to the degree that I want to. And so the answer is yes. I plan to go take the C1 exam next year. Not sure if it'll be spring or summer or fall. I don't know, but that is something that I plan to do. And I guess another reason that I plan to do it is because I recognize when I started studying for that B2 level that I had kind of plateaued. I'm like, oh yeah, I can communicate, I can get along, but I kind of wasn't pushing myself. And when I had to study for an exam and get to this next level, I grew. I got better. I developed, and so I want that again. I don't want to kind of rest on my laurels. So. And then any prep advice. So this is just general prep advice. It's not for C1. It's just in general, because they're the four parts of learning a language: spoken, oral comprehension, written comprehension, and the written piece. Depending on where you are, like in each of those, you might need to focus more on one or the other. Like for me, it was definitely the writing, because I could write in French, but in argumentative, a letter arguing a point, that was not something that I was used to doing. And so understanding what is required is the first thing, and then preparing each of those things. I had each of those pieces. So I would, and I think there's sometime on YouTube, there are some people who teach, how to study for this exam. And I actually did take a program called, it was French Club TV. Well, I can't remember his name. It was like a 6-week course that helped me prepare for it. That you could, write things, and that they would look at it and they would make corrections so that you could improve with that. They had an opportunity for you to do your presentation. So it was really good. But I also have a French friend who's fluent in English as well, who I prepared my presentation with. Like, what happens for the B2 level is there's you pick a topic out of a hat, or two topics out of a hat, and then you can pick which one you want to speak on. And a lot of times it's current events, or current topics, like artificial intelligence, or the internet, or social media, or things like that. And so one of the things that I did was I watched a lot of YouTube on those topics. Technology, things that I didn't necessarily, watch a whole lot of, so that I could get the terms. Oh, global warming, that was another topic. And so that I could kind of get the language behind it, because for the B2, it was arguing a point. And I kind of needed to understand, okay, what are the sides? So that's another tip, is to watch. But again, for C1, I'm not really sure what they're going to be testing on, right? B2 was, okay, can you argue a point? Can you argue a point in writing? Can you argue a point orally, right? So I would really need to do that. I have a book. I ordered a book that had questions, topics that I could, practice doing the written part on. And then I had my friend Jordy read them and say, oh, well, gave me some critique as well as the program that I took. So that's what I did. I think that I took it in March of last year, and really started studying in January, right? But it was like every day I was studying a couple hours a day because I needed to kind of close the gap. And it was stressful, but yeah, it felt good to pass that. So I'm looking forward to C1, and maybe I'll start preparing once I get my papers in for my 10-year card, so that I don't have to have it in such a condensed time frame. So long answer, but hopefully that was helpful to you. Um, are you already at a B2 level? Do you have that confidence that, oh yes, C1 is the next thing, or is C1 a stretch for you? Let me know. Let's see. Dion asks the question: are the exams you took costly? So there were two places in Perpignan I saw that I could take the exam. The place that I took it was 73 euros each time. So yeah, it's you don't want to fail it, right? You don't want to have to pay that a second time. And then the other school, I think they charge 80 euros. So, and then for the exam, for the Delph exam, I can't remember how much I paid for that. I think it was more than for the civics exam. And then for one of the exams I took after I got my profession liberal visa, and the state France said you need to have this certain level. They paid for that one, but the other ones were out of pocket for me. Yeah, good question. Here we go. Thank you. For anyone here who is thinking about moving abroad, I highly recommend the Carefree Expat Incubator. I joined in February 22 and moved to Portugal in October. It made a huge difference. Thank you, Sharon. And we've spoken. We did a live stream. So if you want to see her trajectory, be sure to check out the live button on my YouTube channel, because it was a really good conversation. Thank you. Let's see. Embracing your pivot. Do you believe the process of writing your book, Growing Bold, was instrumental in getting you to where you are, happier than ever? Because I read and used your book, and it helped me. Thank you so much. That makes success, right? When I wrote Growing Bold, there was a moment. I wrote that pretty quickly. That was like beginner's luck. I was like, oh yeah, I have an idea for a book, and it kind of came out. I hired a developmental editor who was marvelous in helping me kind of reshape it, even though I was a little resistant to her moving my chapters around. But in the end, it turned out wonderful. And then I was pushing, like I was like, I self-published, and I was pushing. I'm like, I want to get this book published. And I remember it's like end of November, beginning of December, I received in my inbox final revisions from my editor. And in that moment, my stomach dropped, because I'm like, oh, do you really want to publish this? Do you really want to put this out there? Because there's some things in that book that I wasn't really proud of. And I thought, Patricia, this is not going to help anybody if it is, sitting on my shelf, but nobody else's. And so you're saying that it really helped you. That is affirming. Thank you so much. Did it help me? The process of writing Growing Bold helped me get me where I am. I think so, because I think every challenge that I tackle and then, succeed or even fail at is something that shows me the strength that I have, shows me what I'm capable of. And in writing that book, in self-publishing it, which is not easy either. Like there's a lot that you need to do. And I did self-publish 2 books. And so for this third book, I'm looking to find an agent so that I can, this is just a different challenge. But yeah, I think it just really kind of showed me what I'm capable of. And kind of, I think it's one of the reasons that I moved to France was, well, because I love the French language and I wanted to speak French fluently. But another one was I love a challenge, as I said. And I had written, in the US, I was doing things that were challenging. I was, speaking publicly. I was a member of Toastmasters International. I got a purple belt in karate. I was doing things that were challenging me. And I wrote and published this book, but it just seemed like I was always looking for the next challenge. And I said to myself, Patricia, if you move to France, you're not going to be looking for a challenge anytime soon. You're going to have challenges galore, and it's going to last a while. So I think that, yes, it did in that aspect too, saying, oh yeah, I like a challenge, and I published this book, and now I'm still looking around for the next one. So yeah. Good question. Thank you. And I guess is 100% yes for is about yes. You're when you're stretching yourself, or that you're ready. It could be either way. Still not clear. All right, you got me. Glow. Did you complete your coach training specifically to help you move abroad? What motivated you to get coaching a certification initially? It was back in 2013. It was right after my mom died. I had entertained the idea of going to coach training because at that point, I was already a PMP, a project management professional, and I needed to maintain my certification. So I went to dinner meetings, project management dinner meetings, to get some credits. And at one of those events, there was a life coach. I'd never heard of life coaching before. So this was in 2013. And she spoke about what she did. And I was like, oh, that's what I'm made for. And so I talked to her after the event, and she shared what school she went to. And I got some information about the school, but it was right after my mom had died, and I was starting a new job, and I just, didn't really have time for it. And so I guess a year and a half later, I was in this job that I wasn't really that happy with. And I was like, oh yeah, you remember that thing you wanted to do? You wanted to become a coach. I think now's the time. And so in 2015 was when I went to IPEC, Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching, and got my certification. And it was really because I was thinking, oh, I want this as a side hustle so that maybe I can then stop doing my day job. Well, that didn't really pan out because I had my first, 3 or 5 clients, and almost every last one of them, I needed to refer to a therapist. And therapy and coaching are very different. And I was like, well, maybe this isn't the career for me because, I don't have the skill set of, a therapist, and I don't want that. I want to help people who are, a little bit where they're not struggling in the ways that would require therapy. And so I kind of put that on the shelf. I didn't do anything with it after like 2016. And then in the back of my mind, when I moved here on a visitor visa, I thought, oh yeah, maybe I'll coach. I have that, that's something I can do. At the end of my first year, I thought, oh yeah, I really probably should think about starting a business here. But at that point, I was not confident enough at all to think that I could, at the end of a year, support myself, or not support myself, do have the French minimum wage. And so I kicked it down the line, and I said, oh no, I'm not going to apply for that. I'm just going to do the visitor visa. It's easier. And so that's what I did for the next 3 years. I was here 3.5 years before I said, okay, Patricia, you're running out of savings. It's time to, start a business, do something to earn some money. And that's how I started my business. But initially it was about, oh yeah, I don't want to go to this 9 to 5 anymore, and perhaps having a coaching practice could be my way out. And it was in a sense, but it wasn't in the way that I thought it would be, where I would, have the coaching practice in the US. Because even at that time, it was just moving abroad wasn't really at the forefront of my mind. So, good question. Thank you. Let's see where we are. Okay. Oh, here we go. It was you did B2, only 11 out of 25 oral. And you needed what? What do you needed us? You got enough for that. That will be the worst for me, I think. C1 will be a stretch right now. Going to aim for next May, maybe. All right, maybe we can be accountability partners. But good for you. Good for you. I think anybody who's learning a language, I think that sitting for a test is one way to kind of just up the ante and push yourself, because until you have that pressure to get to the next level, you might languish where you are, and languishing where you are might be okay because a B2 is nothing to, it's a good level. But if you want more, then, sitting for a test is the perfect way to do it. So good. Congratulations. Okay. Thank you. Under 70 euros for Delph. Okay. I knew it was more. Yeah, I think I paid something around that too. Let's see. Hi, Delia. So glad you could join. My civics exam, the second one, the first one went fine. For the 10-year resident card, I took that in May. I passed that 38 out of 40, and I only needed a 32. And then today, I sat for the civics exam, which was very similar to the one I took in May, but it's for nationality. And I got the same score, 38 out of 40. There were a few questions that I was not so sure about. 4 questions I wasn't so sure on. So, but knowing, I think going in, for me, I'm kind of a perfectionist. And so when I don't know an answer, I started to panic a little bit. But one of the things that I reminded myself of when I went back and reviewed all the questions was, okay, I only need 32 of these. So if I'm unsure of fewer than 8, then I'm good. I'm golden. And that helped me along. So thank you. Thank you for asking. Right. All right. So any other questions before we go? I've already spoken about the Women Rising Roundtable. That's on July 25th. And it's called The Wisdom Within: How to Recognize, Trust, and Act on Your Intuition. If you're interested in that, you can go to thecouragecatalyst.com/roundtable. I have that anywhere here. That on the screen. It's going to be good. 9 women only, so you don't want to miss out on that. Yeah, looks like maybe we've gotten all the comments answered. Well, this has been fun. Just chatting about everything and nothing. I do hope that it cools off sooner rather than later, because it is pretty miserable. And I will say that I have noticed that yesterday when I was at the cafe with that friend that I met on that night train 4 years ago, there were many fewer people out because it was still very hot, as I said. So it's really cramping our style here. So, all right. Well, if there is nothing else, I'm going to end it here. Let's see. End it here. All right. Thank you so much for joining me today. And if you have not already, be sure to like this video. Be sure to, if you have not subscribed to my channel yet, be sure to subscribe. And I will see you next week. There will be a recorded video. And then the week after that, The week after that, I'm not sure if you saw this. So, there's more to talk about. There's more to talk about. I'm not sure if you saw my interview with Susie from Fired Up in France. She is such a wonderful interviewer. Like it's an incredible conversation that we had. So if you haven't seen that, be sure to go over to her channel and check that out. And then on July 9th, Thursday, same time as today, I am going to be speaking with her live. So if you've got questions for Susie, Fired Up in France, who has been in France for 18 years, be sure to check that out. You can set a reminder by going to my channel, checking out the live tab, and setting a reminder for that. All right. So I will see you live then. And then next week is a recorded video. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.